another episode of Healthy You, designed especially to improve your health. As everyone probably know, because there's pink everywhere in the shopping malls, on hats, we know we're celebrating breast cancer awareness. But did you know men get breast cancer also? At least 1 in 10 men have been diagnosed with breast cancer. So I'm just throwing that in there. So this podcast is not just for women, it's also for everyone. And that's why we see pinks in so many places. Today, I have a guest that I am happy to say is not a breast cancer survivor, but he's more than that. His name is Stephen Logan, and he is not just been a part of the journey. He has experienced firsthand through his wife, and I'm going to let him tell his story of what it's like to be with someone going through breast cancer. Often we will hear of the survivor telling their story. But this young man, I have to say a young man considering my age, that he didn't come from medicine like I have been a family physician for 30 years. This gentleman has been playing football for 13 years,
Hmm.
has been retired, and now is beating the pavement on a bike and also coaching for health. But his story starts with his wife, where he moved out of football and had to go through this journey of breast cancer. And I'm going to let him tell his story. So, Stefan, tell me, um, first of all, how you feeling?
I feel good. I feel great. And thanks for having me on the show.
I appreciate you coming because not often we get to hear what it's like being a partner um, with someone going through breast cancer. Tell us a little bit about your wife because I know you amazingly loved her so much.
Yeah, my wife Jennifer Logan, she passed away September 30th, 2003, and that was devastating to me, devastating to a lot of people. But we ain't gonna stick on the sad. We're gonna get on the good. My wife was a beautiful woman, beautiful, had a beautiful soul, had a beautiful smile, just a very intelligent, just a bright person. If she comes in the room, like she brightens up the room, like it was
Wow.
like a shining star. I'm not lying to you. And my wife was she was a school teacher. She loved to work with kids. She just was, the way she just carried herself, it trickled down to me, and
Yeah.
it made me carry myself in a different way because the way her attitude was, the way she looked at life, and when I found out she had cancer in 2016, it was like I didn't know a whole lot about cancer because when I was
Okay.
coming up, it was more about HIV, and then
Okay.
once I found out, my wife had cancer, I was like, okay, let me do a little bit of research. Start doing some research, start getting a little bit of getting more information with it, so I know like okay when the doctor says certain things, I know what I'm looking at, I know what I'm listening to, and the way my wife carried herself with cancer, nobody knew she had cancer
Wow.
unless we spoke on it, unless we say, oh, Mo, she's a breast
So
cancer survivor.
before you go any further, tell me what did she tell you? Were you present when they gave her the diagnosis? Tell me your experience at that time. How did you hear about it? Or was it after she went to the doctor and then she came and spoke to you?
The crazy part is I met Jen in 2016. I met her on my dad's birthday, January 5th,
Wow.
and we had started, communicating. We started talking a little bit, and I was playing football. I was in Canada at the time, playing CFL, and I was away during the season. And she had called me, and she was trying to break it off on me. She was like, "Oh, I don't think we should talk no more." And
Mm.
she started bringing up all this football stuff, saying like, I heard how y'all football guys
Oh my
is, and
gosh.
I just like,
Well,
hold
it's true,
on,
but okay,
yeah, yeah,
but
some
go
of
ahead.
it's true, some of it's true, and I was like, no, like it's not like that, and I
Uh-huh.
didn't understand like why she was trying to break it off with me, and
Wow.
I'm thinking that as a guy, we thinking about like, oh, I'm not
What
good
I
to her, I'm
do,
not right, I didn't do right,
what
I'm
I
like,
do.
I'm
I
thinking
brush my
about
teeth that day. What was
right,
it though?
I'm thinking all the negative stuff, and
Yeah.
she was really trying to save me. Like
Yes,
she didn't
yes.
want me to go through this with her, and
Understood.
um, I was like, I was kind of like, all right. So it's about maybe a couple days, maybe a week, and I sent her a text message like, hey, how's everything going? And she was like, I'm doing okay. It was real short,
Mm.
and I sent her a text message back, and I said, hey, I said, forget all this. I say,
Okay.
what's going on? Like,
Good
why
question.
you wanna end this? Like, why you don't want to talk to me no more? Like, what did I do? And she was like, it has nothing to do with you. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that made me feel better. So I was like, okay, well,
But
tell
that's
me.
like a common kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's not you, it's
it's
me.
not you, it's me. So I
Yeah.
said, well, tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
And she told me, she said, I went to the doctor the other day, and they said I had a lump in my breast. I knew that part because my mom had I think the
Okay.
mammogram
Yes.
in the shower, so I kind of know like when women's supposed to check their breast stuff. So I understood all that. So once she told me, and I was like, okay, well, what the doctor saying? She was like, they say they found the lump,
Hmm.
and I got to go back and get more tests. And I
Right.
said, all right. So then a couple of days went by. She went back to the doctor. They told her what it was, and they
Yeah.
said she had cancer.
Wow.
And this is the God honest truth. The first thing I said after that was, "What do we do?"
Ooh. I
And
love that. And I got to pause on that. He said, what do we do?
yeah,
Because so many people are going through the journey of breast cancer that doesn't have the we.
mm-hmm,
And that was so beautiful of you to say, no, this is not just you.
right,
This is an us thing.
yeah, it was us thing. And I said, "What do we do?" And she was like, "Well, I got to go back to the doctor, get some more. They got to do some more research. They got to see what type, how the cancer like was is the stages was
Right.
1, 2, 3, or 4." And I was like, "All right." I was like, "Well, keep me posted." And we kind of went back and forth with the conversation. She was texting me, letting me know what's going on. I started doing my research, so I didn't know what's going on. And
Hmm.
then uh, I had ended up coming home,
Yes.
and then I found out what stage it was. It was stage 3. And then it was like, okay, let's figure out everything we need to do as far as food,
Right.
like your living conditions, like, because
Exactly.
now it's so important. Now I'm like, okay, let's figure all this out. And she went back to the doctor, and it was like, right now it's stage 3, but it's they got it a little bit under control right now. So we was able to, for 8 years, we were able to just
Wow.
have a great time, and
Nice.
that was the beauty of everything.
Nice. So they were to catch it early
Hmm.
and they started with chemotherapy with her?
Yes, we started chemo, and then she started doing radiation. And during the chemo and radiation times, like I would go with her to the for the
Treatment.
treatments. I would go with her to when she do the radiation. Like I was very, very
Yes.
involved in
Nice.
everything she did, as far as with her medication, with her chemo
You were
treatments.
brave.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You
with
were
her
brave.
with
You
her
weren't afraid of
no,
all
no, no.
that.
I wasn't afraid. I was more of real concerned because like my mom, I got that from my mom. Like, and when I was young, my mom told me, she was like, Steph, you should be a doctor.
Oh,
You should be a
wow.
nurse because you're really good with caring for people. And I was like, okay, I'm not going back to school to do
Did
that.
did you, and this is for our audience,
Hmm.
because sometimes just the word cancer scares people.
Hmm.
Even when they're not going through the cancer journey, just hearing the word that someone has cancer is like, okay, tell me when it's over.
Hmm.
Did you find the research that you did for yourself? Did you find that helped to strengthen you as you went through this journey, knowing some of what the expectations were in the process? Did that help you?
It did. I mean, and once you do your research and once you start seeing, you see a lot of negatives when you're looking at it. You're like, okay, what are some of the symptoms? What triggers certain things?
Yes.
And it was like, man, you're looking at it, you're like, God, like, dog, like there's nothing good that comes from it.
Right.
So, but the good that came from it, from
Yes.
her, was her attitude,
Wow.
was her smile. Like everywhere we went, like it was always a ball of joy. Like
Nice.
we never let the cancer sit in and say,
Mhm.
okay, you're not gonna win this. Like we're
Gotcha.
gonna beat cancer. We're not gonna let you win.
Yeah.
So like I said, it was just we had so much fun. It was so many amazing things that we did. Like I didn't like to travel. She did. So we traveled, and then we went to Vegas. We went to all kind of different stuff. Like she wanted to
Nice.
go out of the country. I was like, no, that's too far. But if she wanted to go, like I would. But that was just the great part about it, because everybody, like you say, when they hear cancer, they think of
Right.
death. They think
Yes.
like, oh no. And at first I did think like that. I was like, man.
I
But then I
just
was like,
you just met. You
yeah. And I
guys
was
had just
like,
met.
yeah, we had just met. It was 6 months in. And I
Wow.
was
And
like,
that's a good point. You really, she gave you the out.
yeah, yeah, she gave me the out.
I mean, it's early in the relationship.
Yep. Hmm.
Tell us when you guys got married. I remember, and I have to only because I know a little bit about your story. I
Yeah.
just thought it was amazing. You just met someone. It's
Hmm.
6 months out, and they're telling you, "Get away from me! I got cancer,"
Yeah.
and you're like,
I was
"Tell
like,
me."
hey. So it was crazy because we had went with it was Jen's best friend. We went to Vegas for a party, and we went to Vegas, and me and her had just gotten into a little argument too. So we was in Vegas for a week,
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was like, okay, we here. We done spent this money for these tickets, this plane, this trip. We gonna have a good time. So we got there. We made up real quick because it was like, look, we here for a week. We sleep in the same bed. We're not
Yeah.
gonna be mad out here in Vegas. It's a place for partying and having fun.
Right.
Just relax. And we was got to Vegas and we was having a good time. And the last day we was getting ready to leave. Our flight was later that night. It was like 10:30 that night. So we had all day.
Uh-huh.
And you had to check out your hotel at like
12,
11, 12
12.
o'clock
Right.
in the afternoon. So we sitting there in the lobby, and I don't know what made me say, and I don't know how she even caught on to it. And I was like, man, you ain't about that life. And she looked at me, she's like, who? And she just went to Google and stuff. She said, and she was just like this. She said, put this address in your phone. I'm putting it in my phone, but I'm steady talking, and I'm putting it in my phone. I gave her my phone, and she Uber be here in 10 minutes. So the Uber get there.
Wow.
I'm like, where we going? She was like, you'll see. And we go over there to the chapel where Michael
Oh my
Jordan
gosh.
and his wife got married at the Elvis Presley thing.
Yeah.
And we go over there, and I'm like, wait a minute now, wait a minute. I'm like, we here? She was like, yeah. And the craziest part is,
Yeah.
I had already bought the ring, but it was home.
Oh my
I just didn't
goodness.
bring it with me. And
Wow.
something told me, and cause me and my son went and got it.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
was like, oh, I should bring it. I was like, I ain't gonna do it out there. I'll wait till I come back home. And
Oh my
I
goodness.
left the ring home and we went out there, and I was good until the chapel. He said, y'all face each other while we was in the Elvis car, and we facing each other, and it was like, and he went to asking, doing our vows and everything, and he went to saying Jennifer as a last name was Smith at that time. Do you it take Stephon Logan to be her? I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa! And then once we said I do and we kissed, that's when I started sweating. I was like,
Oh.
oh, we finally did this, and
Oh
it was
my
just
gosh.
crazy.
How far was she into treatment at that time?
Um, she was that was 2000. That was 2020, and I met her in 2016, in 2016. So
4 years after
yes, it was four
treatment.
years after, and knowing
Yeah.
that she had cancer, knowing that we had found out that we had found out a little bit before that it was terminal cancer. So
Mm.
I knew all this. Like
So
I
it was
knew,
progressing.
yeah, it was progressing. Like they
It
metastasized,
was rapid.
and yeah, it once it started like when I was kind of talking to the doctor on the side, like asking certain questions,
You hear the
and
spouse on the
oh
side,
yeah,
side
yeah,
conversation.
I was having
Yeah.
a conversation because my wife was one of
Relatives
them.
do this too. You just
They
remember
do,
that.
they do. Cause my wife didn't never like. She always said like, I don't want to see you hurt.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm okay. Like, just tell me so I know how to move.
How to
Like, I
move.
know how to
Understood.
operate.
Yeah.
And she was like, I pull it. I when the doctor go out the room, I go out there and I ask,
Mm.
and I ask certain questions. I'm like, hey, what are they saying? What are the symptoms? Like, what is the time limit? And he was telling me little stuff, and that's how I kind of knew. And I was like, man, you know what? I don't care. I don't
Mm.
care what I got to give up. I don't care what I got to do. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make sure that she lived her best life. And that was
Nice.
like one. That was like my
That was
real like the journey for me. I was like, I want her to live her best life, whatever I lose. And trust me, I had a lot of stuff. So
yeah.
I was
So
like, I give it up
how
for.
many years were you together in this journey? How many years
We was
roughly?
together 8 years, and we was this year would have made 3 years this year, going on four.
Wow. So if and I appreciate you sharing that
Thank you.
because people wonder, well, why do I bring guests onto the show, and it's called Healthy You,
Hmm.
because part of understanding health is to understand what you can gain from hearing another person's story. How did they go through this? And this is one person who we can call a survivor because he went through it with a partner.
Hmm.
And so many people have individuals around them and they keep it a secret.
Hmm.
They don't share what's going on, and relatives and friends know something's happening,
Yeah.
but they're not disclosing. What message could you give to relatives or friends who have a suspicion that, if not even breast cancer, some other form of cancer, especially men who may
Hmm.
have a prostate cancer, don't want to talk about it with their family? What message can you give to family and friends to help them move that person along to sharing and disclosing so that they can be a support?
One thing I did was, like I said, I did my research and I was Googling stuff, and one thing it showed me, and it said it was like the top of the list. It was like support. It was like be supportive of whatever he or she is going through. And once I seen that, not saying you're not gonna have any arguments or anything like that. That's gonna happen too. It's a
Right.
part of marriage and relationships. But the support part was so helpful to me.
Yeah.
So I always made sure when I got up in the morning, I put my best foot forward. Like I would always check on her. I would make sure she was always good before I left the house, whether I was
Okay.
going to the gym or whether I was doing some personal training or I was going to ride my bike. Whatever I was doing, I always made sure she was good. And even when I was gone, I would always, hey, you all right? Or send a text
So
message.
support showing up like verbal concerns.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And when I say support, I'm
what
not
kind of things?
not only just support. I mean not just verbal. I'm talking about like
Tell the
whether
audience because
oh
they some
sorry.
people really need to know
Well,
what they can be doing to
yeah,
helping
when
someone.
I say support, I'm not talking about just like financially. I'm talking about love. I'm talking about affection. Because once cancer takes over, like the person that you've been looking at, that you've been in love with for so long, they change. Like they don't
Yes.
look the same. And when I would show my wife to everybody, even at her worst, I still showed her because it was one time she said to me, and she said, "I always want to look beautiful for you."
Oh,
And I was like, "You
oh
always
my
beautiful
God.
to me." And I'm talking, we both had bald heads. I shaved the hair off when the hair started coming out. And so when I say support, I mean not just financially. I'm talking about physically. I'm talking about verbal. I'm talking about I'm talking about every way you can think of how you support somebody. You got to be there for them. I'm talking about like
Wow.
holding their hand, waiting
Yeah.
on them hand and foot. So what I did was I said it's not about me no more. I put her
Nice.
first,
Wow.
so it wasn't about me. I said I'll be all right. So
Yeah.
everything she did or everything I did was
Yeah.
for
Wow.
her. So
Well, Stefan, thank you so much.
thank
I
you,
think what you've shared with everyone today is going to be so, so very helpful
thank you.
because for many who are going through it with a partner or loved one or mother,
Hmm.
they sometimes don't know what to
They
do.
don't know
And
what to do.
I so appreciate you sharing
Thank
and
you.
taking this journey with me as a cancer survivor myself.
Oh
And
man.
that, yeah,
Oh,
um,
congratulations.
I, hearing what you said and sharing that with everyone, there is a lot you can do. And the word today to walk away with is support.
Hmm.
So thank you again, Stefan. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so much.
having me on the show. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Our next guest
Let me
is
grab this phone.
surprisingly, and not so surprisingly,
Oh,
if you've been around me as your councilwoman, Dr. Powell for residential C3, you might have seen my right hand. Come on in, Nikita. You might have seen my right hand here. And as you know, she's in pink, not because we're just doing pink for breast cancer awareness, but she is also a breast cancer survivor like myself. And I'm going to do more than to say that. She's a double breast cancer survivor. And I want you to tell your story, but I need them to know more about you. She has been a former ambassador for Susan Komen, where she shared her story as an uninsured survivor. And I don't want to give away the Kool Aid, but she's been my legislative analyst since I came into office. And I've been so grateful for having her as my partner, knowing that she's also been through this cancer journey. And she's also built a career as a collaborator with leaders across the country and state and federal government as a consultant. And she does have a strong background in international relations and government affairs. And she believes in team leadership. And pink is her favorite color too because she's a
Member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority
okay. I know I had to
Incorporated.
plug that in just for her, not for me. And she does strategic planning and leadership and government. And I'm just so grateful to have you
Oh,
as my
thank
analyst and
you.
as my guest today. So
Yay!
I want to hear your story as a not one, but twice breast cancer survivor. And really emphasize that uninsured part. How is that impactful? So that's a lot, but
I know, Councilwoman. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm on the other side of the camera. I'm usually, behind the scenes working
no,
for
yes.
you in the great city of Miami Gardens. So my journey started when I was 35, and prior to that, I was a union organizer for AFGE and a TSA campaign. Great insurance, and that campaign ended.
Yeah.
So maybe approximately, 6 months or so after I was going back to school, finishing my bachelor's degree, and took advantage of the resources at FIU. So I went to their clinic. I'm thinking I'm just doing a regular annual
Yeah.
checkup, and the nurse practitioner discovered that there was a lump.
Wow.
And as soon as they identified it, and I felt it myself, and I was like, wow, yeah, that is hard. It was it was probably the size of a golf ball that I can
Wow.
recall. And I immediately told the nurse practitioner that I didn't have insurance. So what do
Mm.
I do?
Yes.
And they provided information and resources. American Cancer Society, Susan G. Komen, and said, here is a potential route for you to go.
Okay.
So with that, it probably took about 6 months before I
Wow.
was even diagnosed.
6 months.
Right.
Wow.
So because when you're at the time, when you're uninsured,
Yeah.
there's additional steps that you have to take. And so for me at the time, it was I got my mammogram, probably paid about $50 to $60, which is great, uninsured.
Yeah.
And then they sent me into some affordable system where I did the ultrasound. They got me into Jackson
Conscious
Memorial,
of Jackson. Uh-huh.
which that has an uninsured
Okay.
program. And then I had to do the process again.
Oh
So I
my
had to
goodness.
do another mammogram,
Wow.
another ultrasound, and then a biopsy. And
Oh my
so
gosh.
all of these things took time, and eventually got the diagnosis.
So that's so you're saying from start to finish, you're looking at not even finish, but the start to actual identifying that this is a cancer,
Yes.
6 months.
Yeah.
And I'm a family physician, and I will tell you that's a long time. And I think sometimes what people don't understand is we hear when people are diagnosed with cancer, just getting to the diagnosis of cancer, especially when you're uninsured, um, can be time consuming only because of the lack of insurance. That's why it's so important that we have health care in this country, because the sooner a diagnosis is made, the sooner a treatment can begin.
Exactly.
So tell us what happened. So 6 months, they finally do their tissue diagnosis,
And then I wasn't given a lot of treatment options. Obviously, at the time, it because I was uninsured and where we were as a country, honestly, because I wasn't insured, I didn't have that many options. I immediately wanted to, get a double mastectomy, and I know that they had wanted me to do the oh Lord.
chemo,
The
radiation.
chemo, radiation. I was prepared for all of that. And because I was uninsured, when they checked the other breast, they said there wasn't any cancer there. So I didn't
Wow.
have an option to get both
Both.
removed.
Got you.
And also at the time, which it's, now everything is very different, I wasn't afforded the opportunity to get reconstruction
Mm.
because you had to pay for it outright. And at
Oh,
the time,
there
one
was no
breast
program.
was like
Oh my
$25,000,
goodness.
and it's either you pay for it or you don't get it.
Wow.
So for at least 4 years,
Yeah.
I got one removed and went through the treatments. I didn't have to do the full on
Radiation.
I didn't have to do radiation or the traditional,
Chemo.
very aggressive chemo.
Wow.
They gave me the treatment pills, which at the time was
Really?
tamoxifen.
Really? Wow.
And that was it. I was told I had a less than 3% chance of it returning. And in 4 years, it came back.
In the same breast?
Same
Oh my
breast.
goodness.
And I was more diligent. I was doing
And this is
the
after
self
total mastectomy. Wow.
after the total mastectomy. So it was literally a scar.
Yeah.
And I felt a lump or
Okay.
something in the scar that I
Yes.
hadn't noticed before. And because of that, and because I had at the time decided to fight cancer fabulously, which is why my Instagram name has Makita's Fab. Everything I
Nice.
was doing was fabulous. It was really
Nice.
about my attitude about
Nice.
it.
And I think this is the second time our prior guest, Stefan, talked about his wife having a very positive attitude. And here you are again,
Yeah.
now someone who has gone through treatment and now a second time it coming back. and you're still saying attitude matters. Attitude makes a difference.
It does, because you have to relearn your body. I never had major surgeries before, so after the mastectomy and going through the healing process, I
Yeah.
didn't know what was happening.
Wow.
So I was going through moments where I was depressed, where I
Yeah.
was anxious, and it was like the hospital was like my best friend. Any new kink that was happening, I went to the doctor. I just didn't know.
Sure.
And so I realized, thankfully, going into the first diagnosis and surgery, I had such a great attitude
Yeah.
that it felt like I had balanced out in how things went after.
How was the process was
How the
gonna go?
after, exactly. And
Yeah.
then again, I shared my story so much because I don't think people talk enough from not just a lens of diagnosis,
Sure.
but also not being insured. And I'm a
Yeah.
consultant, so it was like at the time I had my own business,
Right.
but I realized, it was getting, I wasn't doing the overall health of a business that you
Yeah.
need, and some of that is making sure that you're insured.
Exactly.
So I had to figure it out, and I wanted to share that story. I wasn't embarrassed about it,
Yeah.
but it
I
was
think that-
interesting how people responded, even to the point where people didn't even believe that I was truthfully a survivor
Wow.
or going through breast cancer. I
Yeah.
think because of how my attitude
I
was.
think it's so important. You mentioned a lot of number of points that I think everyone needs to pay attention to. One, of course, attitude makes a difference. But you said something about sharing the story. All over, we are seeing breast cancer awareness, breast cancer awareness, breast cancer awareness. But I want us to understand, and I my audience out there to understand, that the story is beyond the walk, it's beyond the donations. There are individuals who are having this experience, and many of them are uninsured. And so we have partnered together. We're doing, as Councilwoman, working with the Dolphins, and they're doing a breast cancer challenge, and it's through Sylvester, for which, if you would tell us a little bit about your experience there, because for the changes you talked about, from hair loss to the physical changes after surgery, some of those things are addressed at Sylvester. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So the flip side to where I was, where it was uninsured, and Sylvester was kind of like night and day. It was, the environment was comfortable. The doctors are super welcoming, and I will say, I'll note that one of the programs that they have is a look good, feel better.
And you were able to participate
And I
in
was
this.
able to participate in that, which was, I'm a girly girl, so it's all about makeup, and it's all about how do you care for yourself. It was more than just the makeup part, but we got great products. We had a teacher that kind of walked us through different steps in what do you do now, because you don't realize, even going to the nail salon,
Yeah.
they tell you, or they told us at the time, have your own equipment.
Yes.
When you go, like, be very mindful of everything that you do. And at the end of the day, it was the resources and the self-care
Yes.
that they also put forth. And what I will also add to Sylvester and the extension of the cancer organizations that are associated with it, one of the reasons why I decided to share my story whenever I can was, I didn't see anyone that was at the time in their 30s.
Right. Yeah.
And
I
and
mentioned
and,
that.
and going through the support groups where I was the youngest person.
Yes.
I was the only Black woman there, only person of Caribbean descent. And so
Wow.
again, it was navigating those spaces, seeing what was out there, and realizing I didn't see people, young women that looked like me, telling their story.
Yes.
So it was really important for me to share from that lens alone, and taking advantage of the resources that are out there for us.
I thank you so much for bringing that up. Just a little bit of data. Breast cancer affects everyone. There is no white people, Black people, Caribbean descent or Asian descent, across the board, breast cancer is affecting every form, race, and creed. But unfortunately, African descent people are dying 10 times the rate as any other culture. And for many reasons that you disclose. One, not having resources because they're uninsured. Two, because we, for a long time, didn't talk about it.
Mm-mm.
We did not disclose. Many of us have family members, and it wasn't until I had breast cancer that I realized I had four generations that had breast cancer, and it's been a secret,
Mhm.
especially in African descent. But in addition to what I just said, Makita, as you just mentioned, we are also the youngest age group, African descent people,
Mhm.
getting breast cancer. And so start early
Yeah.
on checking your breast. After every period, 1 week after, in the shower, while you're lathering soap up, do the examination. And if you don't know how, ask your primary care physician to instruct you or your gynecologist, but do it no matter what. And as Makita, you have done, share the story. What last words can you give to individuals who may think they have breast cancer? What would you recommend? Or not even cancer, just have a weird lump that shouldn't be there.
Advocacy. Advocate for yourself. I again, this is 2012.
Yeah, yeah.
That
And we're in
all of that
25,
I'm
yeah.
yeah that we're talking about, and I was able to start getting mammograms early,
Mm,
because I remember very young that my grandmother had
wow,
breast cancer, so that
wow.
was the only reason that so young I was able to get the opportunity with no issue from my doctors
Nice.
in saying, why would we, give you a mammogram at, I believe
Good
I
point.
started getting them at around 31,
Wow.
32.
Yeah.
Again, because I knew of a family history,
Yeah.
and interesting enough, I am first generation US citizen.
Yeah.
So when you think about immigrants
Immigrants.
and their families, you
Yeah.
don't really know their history
We
either.
don't know it.
So I just remember
We just
very
have
young.
something we didn't know anything about it.
Absolutely.
So we don't know what it was. It was something.
And so as I think about how I was raised, it just so happened to be
Yes.
those things that I recall. It wasn't
No.
conversations that my family was having. I was going to appointments, even general doctor appointments, with no real
History.
history of
Yes.
what is going on in my family until I was diagnosed.
Wow.
Then you hear your relatives, oh, this person have this cancer, this person,
Right.
and then it was just,
Yeah.
that's a little bit of patois that you'll probably get from
Exactly.
me.
Okay, thank you so much
Of
for coming.
course.
And I want to leave everyone with a word. If you're out there and you're hearing this podcast, or if you hear it from somebody else, take the time to get your family history. Take the time to start asking some questions about your family. I know sometimes people say, "It's my business. I don't want to share with nobody," or "I'm not telling anyone what's going on." It's important because early detection really makes a difference. It can be the difference between a cure or having a fatality, having a death from a disease that could be cured. And I'm glad to say we are in 2025, and I'm glad after two that you've made it through to be here with me. What a blessing. It's been a blessing. Thank you.
Thank
Yay.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If you have any questions or would like to make any comments, feel free to put some comments on the Instagram page, and I'll be happy to respond. And as a practitioner myself, I would be love to give you any information you may need because I'm about that cure. So tune in for our next Healthy You podcast, which will be the first Wednesday of November at 1 o'clock. So please come back and spread the word to be healthy. Thank you.